So how can someone who is struggling to get on the property ladder overcome all these obstacles? Well, joining us now is mortgage broker Sally Mitchell. Good afternoon to you, Sally.
Good afternoon.
It's lovely to have you here with us to talk on this subject. Do you believe there's a housing crisis? And if so, what do you think is causing it?
Do you know, there's so many factors that you have to consider. Obviously not enough supply, too much demand, not enough supply. And that really needs a whole overhaul of the planning system as well, because a lot of developers are hampered by very, very slow planning processes. And then, of course, we've got the big problem with people getting on the housing ladder is affordability. Property has continued to increase. People's wages have not kept track with the housing market. And unfortunately, since the autumn of 22, the interest rates have just risen and risen and risen. And now the average 2-year fixed mortgage for a first-time buyer is sitting at about 5.8%, whereas I was writing mortgages a year ago, 1.6, 1.7. No? Or 2 years ago, I should say, sorry. Yeah. It's a huge difference. Huge difference.
It really is. And I know we're talking about people who are struggling to get onto the property ladder, but just so not there to everyone who has a mortgage, myself included, that it doubled. And it wasn't, it was, wow, it's a frightening time, right? When I see that come out of my account every month, I think, I can't believe it's doubled. I just can't believe
it's a shocker, isn't it? It never stops being shocking. And there's 1.6 million homeowners coming up for remortgage this year alone. So, it was 1.5 last year, 1.6 this year, and it's going to carry on. And the way things are going, I was hoping for a base rate reduction around maybe now, maybe June. And with the latest inflation figures and America's results, unfortunately, I don't think we're going to get it now until early autumn. And in fact, it will probably not be the sort of reduction when it comes that we've been hoping for. I think anything with a 3 in front of it for rates is a very, very long way off in the future.
Yeah. The key seems to be, I imagine, and sort of what came through from Adam, our estate agent, with his advice, is saving. This is a massive thing, and I feel like because of the consumerism we have in the world, never mind just the UK, but buy everything, have everything, and all of this, the saving is becoming a real issue. Like with my grandparents, they brought me up, and saving was a big thing in our house. Having savings accounts and having money put in accounts for rainy days. And it doesn't seem to be that we are a nation of savers anymore. We're more spenders.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right. That there isn't that sort of education around saving, or the idea that you need to have something in backup. Everything is instant. We're far more likely to borrow money to support our lifestyle than to work with what we've got. And that's very true. But of course, it is difficult. I see a lot of people who are trying to get on the ladder and also looking at remortgaging. And it seems almost impossible with inflation and the cost of living generally. It seems even more difficult to save. It takes the average first-time buyer 5 years to build up enough deposit. And because houses are and flats are so much more expensive than they used to be, they do have to save up an awful lot. The average deposit for a first-time buyer is over £50,000. Now, I don't know about you, but I would find that very, very difficult to eke out of my salary packet. And also, where are you living? You're probably paying rent. And rents, as we know, have gone up as well. I know so many people who are moving back home to preferential rental rates, or perhaps zero, to save the money in the first place. And it's really, really tricky for people. Really tricky.
Well, yes. And it's often very sad because, Adam mentioned that it's obviously for people who are happy to live at home with their parents. And I've got friends who do that while they're saving for a deposit for a house. Then that's great. And you're very lucky if you've got that. But for some, it isn't an option, so it can be very difficult. We've got this new report out called Homes for All. The Archbishop of Canterbury is calling for this end to short-termism and saying that, more needs to be done. Do you think this could change things?
I hope so. I mean, the more people who are talking about the issue and the more people who are getting behind it, who have a platform, who can reach people, the better. I think it has to be a multi-pronged attack or approach, shall I say. Let's not be too aggressive. It is circumstantial. The economy at the moment is not helping things, but fundamentally there is a lack of stock. And unfortunately, with the property market, if you don't really help the first-time buyers to get onto the ladder in the first place, and I think that's where the focus probably needs to be, then the whole cycle sort of stops. It just doesn't work. You've got to have that new blood coming in to enable the people on the next rung to then move on, for those people to move on, and then all the way up to the retirees to downsize, freeing up more stock at the top for families. So it really is a cycle. And without the first-time buyers being able to get on the ladder, it stagnates. And that's before we get on to social housing and the absolute lack of options there for people, because not everybody is able to buy their own property. Some people are very happy renting. For some people, it's never going to be part of their life plan, even if they wish it were. So we've got to look at everybody's options. And of course, rents have gone up, but that's mainly because the interest rates have risen. So landlords are having to pay more on their mortgages. It's rare that a landlord will have a portfolio without some sort of leverage, without mortgages, and they have to pass that cost on. So it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah, Adam sort of delved into that as well, which was interesting. What would be your advice, Sally, from a sort of with all your experience, for anyone listening who is struggling? Because Adam mentioned a lot the word compromise when it comes to being in this position. So what would you say to anyone who's listening to the show who would like to buy their own property, is struggling? Where to sort of start thinking about planning those steps towards that goal?
I think that's a really good word, planning. First of all, really sit down and think, okay, what timescales have I got here? The sooner you start getting your ducks in a row, the better. And don't try and do it on your own. Get some advice. So please, 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 do go to a broker. Get a recommendation. They're always the best. Don't talk to Dave down the pub because he is not qualified. Please go to someone who actually knows what they're doing, because the market is quite tricky. And we've all got a Dave. And I love Dave for double glazing or my broadband speed, but not when you're talking about money. Please no. The market is incredibly tricky to navigate. It's changing all the time. We're having rates going up, rates going down, then they change sideways. It's too difficult. You've got to have someone on your side who can look at the whole of the market as it changes. And there are a number of sort of three elements, I'd say. First of all, make yourself look as attractive as possible to a lender. So that means doing it yourself or getting someone like me to look into your credit file. It's amazing how just a few tweaks, paying down a loan if you can, making sure you're not overdrawn, really simple, making sure that actually your registered address is where you're living. Silly little things like that can really make a difference. Then the two other things are really deposit size and affordability. Now, not many people know that there are options. If you're struggling for a deposit, you just don't seem to have enough. A lot of lenders will now look at offering mortgages with as little as 5% deposit. There's actually a building society out there at the moment who is, in certain circumstances, happy to look at you if you've only got a deposit of £5,000. That's a very new scheme that's come out, which is a big difference to £50,000, which is the average. Look at your friends and family, or maybe not friends, but family. Can they help you? Can they gift you? Is there a granny who, would really like to see her grandson or granddaughter make that move? Maybe they could be very generous and gift you. Do you have a parent who actually has high income but not very many commitments? Maybe they've paid off their mortgage. Could they come onto the mortgage with you and support you in something called a joint borrower sole proprietor scheme? And then there are other things going on where if you're buying a new build, there's a brand new product out there. God, I sound like an advert, don't I?
No, it's great advice
out there. It's brilliant. There's so many options that people don't know about, where quite often with developers, they will give you an incentive when you buy a new build property from them. So they'll basically give you a discount.
Right. Well, there's the option.
Quite often.
Sorry, go
on.
you go, Sally.
No, all I was going to say was that discount can be put against certain mortgage products, which means that your rate can come down by 2 or 3 percentage points over the initial period, which makes a huge difference when it comes to what you can afford per month. So there are options. I'm saying get advice, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. No, there's so much there from you. It's brilliant. And, sometimes I think people miss a trick with buying an older house. I'm an older house fan. I love houses with character. But, ones that you can actually do up, and you might be young and it might be daunting, but that's your project that you can actually invest in and make money on in the future. So that is, I guess, is that still a viable option for first-time buyers, buying something that needs doing up and revamping?
Yes, definitely. Absolutely, especially if you're, handy yourself and you can do quite a bit of it. I've got a lot of clients who, actually the husband is in trades, so they know that they know what they're doing, and they know they can do it cheaper than employing somebody else. As long as a property is habitable and has a working kitchen and bathroom, most lenders will consider lending on it. If it is a complete wreck, then you'll find it more tricky to place. But of course, the advantage of taking something on and putting your stamp on it is you make money perhaps potentially, but you make it your own. And I think that's the dream when you buy a property. It's your home. It's not just 4 walls and a ceiling. You want to make it your home, and that drives most people.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much great advice there. It's been really lovely having you on to talk about this, and very positive as well. A lovely positive spin on something that's quite...
Got to be.
Yes, absolutely.
It's not all gloom and doom. There are options. People just need to reach out and ask.
Yes, 100%. Thank you, Sally, and have a lovely Wednesday afternoon.
Thank you. You too. Keep eating.
I will, don't worry. Mortgage broker, the lovely Sally Mitchell, on the show. Wasn't she amazing? Lots of great advice there.